The 1950s perfectly encapsulates the concept of the American dream. These were the years when the USA was undoubtedly on top of the world. And while the 1950s was the birth of the boomers, it was also the birth of American consumerism. And if you wanted to keep up with the Joneses, these products were utterly essential. Homeownership. Mid-century America was marked by intense economic prosperity in the aftermath of World War II. The United States emerged from the war with a strong economy and a growing middle class. And those people and their families needed a place to live. Thanks to increased wages and the widespread availability of long-term low-interest mortgages, houses began to spring up around cities across the country, thus giving birth to what we know today as the suburbs. Among the most popular of these new towns were Brookline, Massachusetts, Riverside, Illinois, and Shaker Heights, Ohio, but many more would soon follow. Even today, it's easy to picture the idyllic suburban home of the 1950s. Pastel colors, a well-kept backyard, a quaint kitchen, and of course the iconic white picket fence. This was the American dream at its height.
They used the outside for the exterior shots were from Ozzie and Harriet.
Cars. The 1950s saw an explosion in American car culture. Whether you were fresh back from World War II or had just missed out on getting drafted, your new car symbolized freedom, style, and status. These cars weren't just about getting from point A to point B. They were statements of personal style and technological marvels of their time. And as we entered the rocket age, it wasn't uncommon to see features like tail fins and chrome detailing for the future-minded family of the 50s. Even in today's money, cars were much more affordable. A new car might set you back $1,500 or $14,500 in today's cash. Take this ultra-popular model. It boasted the manufacturer's signature sweep spear design, a stylish body line that ran along the side of the car. It also had the famous portholes or ventiports on the front fenders, a design feature that would later become a company trademark. Of course, we're talking about the 1953 Buick Roadmaster. Need a bit more lifting power? How about this familiar model? Now considered one of the most iconic trucks in history, this baby was one of the first to feature a spacious cab, a one-piece windshield, and integrated headlights. What else could it be but the 1953 Ford F100? Or maybe you're looking for something a bit more on the sleek side. Well, this car boasted a Ferrari-inspired grille and a more modern motoramic look, which made it one of the most popular vehicles of the era. Of course, it would be hard not to recognize the 1955 Chevrolet Bel Air. Television. Quick question, what do all these names have in common? RCA, GE, Motorola, Admiral, Philips, Crosley, Zenith, and Emerson? Today, many of these names are known for producing completely different products, if they're still around at all. But back in the 50s, these were leading manufacturers of state-of-the-art television sets. Indeed, television completely reshaped American life in the 50s. Not only was the medium still new, but shows and advertisements knew exactly how to capitalize on the growing consumer trends. Zenith's introduction of the wired remote control in 1950, followed by the wireless version in 1955, marked significant steps towards modern TV technology. To many, the American dream started in their living rooms.
Big screen 21-inch quality TV for $199.95.
Appliances. Today we tend to think of TVs as entertainment systems, but back then they were just another household appliance, and there sure were a lot of them. Back then, around 1 in 3 women participated in the labor force, mostly as teachers and secretaries. The rest of them spent their time at home. Fortunately, they had a lot of help from companies like Frigidaire, Electrolux, and Whirlpool. In the 1950s, stoves, often referred to as ranges, were a central part of the American kitchen. Both gas and electric models were available from manufacturers like Westinghouse and GE. Back then, ovens were rarely a part of the range unit, but were kept completely separately, typically in the wall. Range hoods, used for ventilating smoke and odors from cooking, were less common in the average home compared to today, but were still available from brands like Venahood. Other must-have household appliances included a Whirlpool fridge, a Maytag or Kenmore washing machine, and a blender. There was even the Waring Blendor, with an O if you preferred. Last but not least, vacuum cleaners were essential for household cleaning in the 1950s. Back in those days, companies like Hoover, Electrolux, and Eureka were leading the market. Dishware. After you're done cooking and cleaning, what do you serve your family their delicious meals on? Well, premium cookware, of course. The 50s were a time when fine china took a backseat to stylish brands designed for everyday use. One company that was particularly well known for its durable, heat-resistant glassware would soon go on to be the gold standard for casserole dishes. We're talking Pyrex, of course. Or how about this product line, which was known for its bright, bold colors and Art Deco style. Though it didn't make it into the modern era, any 50s kid can recognize Fiesta ware. If you go to your parents' house, you might still see these dishes in the cupboard. The atomic age design just screams 1950s, right? That's how you know you're looking at Francine's Starburst line. But don't forget about storing your leftovers. For that, just like today, we had Tupperware.
Which is called Golden Butterfly. You can see the little butterfly right there.
Prepackaged foods and convenience. For most of history, food had to be created from scratch. You could go to the grocery store and buy ingredients, sure. However, you still had to do the mixing, churning, and baking at home. Prepackaged foods changed all that. Suddenly, housewives who had no time to cook or who may have burned the meatloaf by accident had more options for feeding their hungry families. Breakfast time? Get your hands on this instant hit. Just like their mascot, Tony says, "Great!" But if Frosted Flakes were just too sweet for you, you could try Special K, which was marketed as a healthier, low-fat cereal for adults. Or how about this 1950s invention? No more going to a special house to get your waffles. Eggo was a quick breakfast option that could be toasted straight from your freezer. You then wash all this down with fresh orange juice, courtesy of Tropicana OJ, which had just been founded in 1947 and was one of the first to use flash pasteurization. Hungry for a snack? 1954 was the first year that Mars considered adding peanuts into the middle of the M&M, providing a completely new taste and texture. And while Coca-Cola had already been popular for years, the first diet soda actually appeared in 1958. In this case, it was Diet Right, a product of the Royal Crown Company. Looking for something stronger? Your dad was probably a big fan of this beer. In fact, Budweiser's remembered for taking its marketing efforts to new heights in the 1950s. 1950s also gave us some of the most iconic packaged foods in history, like this one, a canned pre-cooked meat product from Hormel Foods Corporation. Spam had gotten big during World War II and was now a popular, affordable, and convenient food item in American households. And who could forget the introduction of Swanson's frozen dinners in 1954? These prepackaged meals completely changed the home dining experience forever by allowing the entire family to eat outside the kitchen. This is why they would soon be known by another name, TV dinners. But these weren't the only frozen meals gaining popularity across the US. Frozen pizzas were also being sold in stores, though they didn't really catch on until the 1960s. That said, brands like Totino's and Tombstone are still around today. And what about dessert? If your mom chose to do things the old-fashioned way, she could not reach for Betty Crocker cake mixes, which provided a convenient way to bake cakes from scratch while saving time. To save even more time, she could just whip up a little bit of Jell-O. Though widely associated with dessert, this gelatin-based snack was also incorporated into salads and even meat meals up until the 1980s.
Now it's time for the most important part, the taste test.
Fashion. People are understandably obsessed with the fashion of the 1950s, but it was by no means as exciting as what would come later. Men generally wore suits and sport coats. They would keep their hair controlled with Brill cream and splash aqua velva on their freshly shaven faces. Women dressed modestly. The most iconic style was the full-skirted dress, often with a cinched waist, creating an hourglass figure. These dresses were knee-length or slightly below. Pencil skirts were also popular, especially for office wear. Accessories also played a vital role in women's fashion, with pearls, brooches, and delicate jewelry being common. Handbags matched the outfit, and gloves were often worn, especially for formal occasions. Kids, in many cases, looked just like little adults. Girls often wore dresses that mimicked the style of adult women with full skirts. Pinafores and smock dresses were also common. For older girls, pedal pushers and shorts became popular for casual wear. Boys wore shorts with knee socks until they got older, when they would generally switch to trousers and button-downs. That doesn't mean you couldn't find the occasional kid outside in jeans, a t-shirt, and a ball cap.
Bought it at the Betty Page store in Las Vegas, which is actually now Tatiana.
Toys. Kids have always been more or less the same, and this means toys, toys, toys. The average boy or girl's Christmas list would be loaded with toys that are now either iconic or long since committed to the toy box of history. The original blonde Barbie came on the scene in 1959, while Roy Rogers and his horse had already been around for years. Matchbox cars, the Howdy Doody monkey, Lincoln Logs, and even the original Mr. Potato Head, which required a real potato, were all huge in this era.
People look different every time you make them.
air travel. However, nothing quite symbolized the American dream like being able to see the country from the air. In the 1950s, flying was a truly luxurious experience. There was tons of space, gourmet meals, and even beds for some of the longer flights. That said, it was also far more expensive than it is today, which made it exclusive to the wealthy and business class. In fact, flying was often an event in itself, with passengers dressing up for the occasion. This was appropriate as meals were often served on real china with multiple courses. Air travel was seen as a symbol of modernity and technological progress. The ability to travel across the country in a matter of hours was a source of national pride and a testament to American ingenuity. The American dream of the 1950s was all about, well, having it all. As a time period punctuated by consumerism and technological innovation, the 50s saw a dramatic rise in unique products and cultural phenomena. From stylish cars and suburban homes to innovative kitchen appliances and more, this decade helped define American consumer culture and social norms in ways that are still recognizable and influential today. If you like this video, give it a like and share it with your friends and family. If you know anyone that was around in the 50s, ask them what made them feel like they were living the American dream.